Cool. Hello. Welcome everybody to the first ever Outdoor Cats live recording, which we are winging in the fashion of how we do fucking everything. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone give a big round of applause to Travis Duda and Hunchback Gallery. What a location, folks. What a location. We love it. It's the best. It's frankly, it's the best location you could possibly have for such a thing as this.
More and more people are saying it.
More and more people are saying it every day. And now, the most important question. Chris, how are you doing?
I am doing a lot better now that I'm here. I had a trying day, but here I am with a bunch of my friends on Webster Street. Isn't Webster Street? We told you guys Webster Street's cool as shit.
Yeah.
Webster Street is very cool. There's a band playing downstairs.
We said, what are the chances? What are the chances that there would be a band practicing downstairs while we were doing this recording? And you know what? You can just always bank on it.
Yep.
You know?
L-O-fucking-L.
The worst thing, at least they're not doing Fall Out Boy covers, but they might be. So...
The night is young, Bill. The night is young.
Keep listening for that. So the topic today, obviously, the 1 year anniversary, though.
Can everybody hear us okay? Perfect.
Yeah. Anniversary is a kind of a bad term for it, right? I don't know what you said. The 1 year mark, maybe, right? Of Eureka Street. An ice raid that turned the city upside down, and the ramifications of which I think we are still feeling and will continue to feel for quite some time. So to start us off, I have prepared a little bit of a pre-written intro to put this on, I think, the appropriate local political context. So I just want to kick us off with that, and thank you, the drummer, for cueing me in. I should get the mic, bang it on my forehead a couple times, and scream it. So this talk. I want to start this talk 5 years prior to the events in question today, in June of 2020, when on the same day as then Police Chief Stephen Sargent took a performative knee with protesters outside of the courthouse. Some 50 officers in riot gear showed up out of the darkness to force a small group of protesters, most of them just kids in their late teens or early 20s. They shouted, "Move back," in unison, and kept a tight military formation. In the same unison key, they shoved forward their shields and their batons. I saw a girl knocked to the ground. I saw others shoved. I heard the pop of a grenade launcher, and I smelled the chemical smoke. I saw the formation halt, having accomplished a goal I couldn't perceive, as more, less lethal rounds came flying in the general direction of the few protesters that remained. I saw then what the police in Worcester are really there for. Then I saw it a few days later in Boston. As the summer of 2020 faded into memory, so too did the Defund campaign, went out with a whimper like so many local movements before it. The local powers that be ran cover for their police department and laundered the events of that humid night as an act of bravery and the threat of peace. 19 kids were put through a headline-grabbing but ultimately pointless court case. And Mike Angelini, everyone's favorite Eyes Wide Shut style master of the city, I'm ad-libbing now, helped Clark University look just enough like he cared about the kids who were there, but not so much to rock the boat. You'll remember he wrote a report that said the police acted with tremendous restraint.
I was, Bill, this isn't on your script, but fun fact about me, I was interviewed by Mike Angelini for an hour and a half for this report. Do you want to guess how many of the words that I said went in the report? Anybody?
0.
You are correct. 0 words of mine went into the report.
And a perfect way to say that business as usual returned for the most part. But from 2021 to 2024, there was cause for hope in the city, a hope I wrote about often, as a small progressive movement started to gain traction, picking up council seats, human rights commission seats, school committee seats. There was a moment there when it felt really possible to remake political life in the city When the DOJ announced it was embarking on a pattern and practice investigation of the police department, it was fuel to the fire. It felt for a moment like something was going to happen, what the academics might call a moment of revolutionary possibility. October 2023, the long genocidal campaign in Gaza commenced. Across the country, we saw police departments and gangs of thugs descend on college campuses to round up students and tear down their protesting encampments. And here, in this city, we watched a feckless city council majority try for months to duck and dodge a community request for a simple vote on a simple resolution. Their failure to do so brought the protest movement to their chambers. I sat next to Chris in the rafters as hundreds of people waited for their turn to speak to a city council that was never really listening. And Chris rightly shouted down at a few of them, calling them cowards. And I watched them sit there, observing the truth of it, uncomfortable, unmoving. And it was at the same time, in this same season, that the DOJ released the findings of its report. And that report confirmed what so many community members had been saying. And I saw the cops react to it by stuffing the city council chambers themselves as police union officials took the mic. And I will never, ever, ever forget the following public testimony of Patrolmen's Union President Thomas Duffy, the son of a micro-celebrity state police officer and the head of the gang unit whose behavior made up the bulk of the DOJ report's findings, who was, by any reasonable definition, the bad apple that Democrats had diagnosed as the solvable problem to police violence in 2020. And
allegedly. We don't want to get sued.
Right. Well, that's allegedly my opinion.
In a Greek play.
Yes. And this is a snippet.
Hill. I've been a member of the Worcester Police Department for 27 years. As a proud president of Local 911, it is my privilege to speak to you tonight on behalf of the Worcester police officers. The report submitted by the DOJ is a reflection of the person that brought this investigation to our city, a total disgrace. Over the course of recent years, society has disparaged the profession of police in this country to an alarming level. We have local elected officials and some in our community who prioritize disparaging the great men and women of this police department on a routine basis. Being a police officer is an extremely difficult job, and that, along with the disrespectful treatment of the police in our society, is one of the biggest reasons that we have such difficulty recruiting and retaining officers in our city. Let me remind you that some thought defunding the police was also a benefit to the community. That being said, this sham of a so-called investigation is a new low point. With hardly any factual information, its authors take it upon themselves to decide when an allegation against the police is credible. How have we come to a point in our city where this is allowed to happen? It's disgraceful and insulting to the great men and women that I'm privileged to represent. There's nothing...
All right, that's enough of that. I think you guys get the idea.
When you hear that voice, I know this is an opinion we'll all share. That sounds like a man who is definitely in control of his emotions and isn't about to punch a hole in some drywall.
Right, and since this is...
just really evened out.
Since I couldn't figure out how to hook the video up to the video screen we have behind us, I just want to say for the record that the veins on that forehead, my God, the veins are bulging out. They are about to pop. But we'll notice, looking back at the historical record, everything that guy said in that video is what our city council ended up doing. The inauguration of Donald Trump, it put an end to any hope the DOJ would produce any change in Worcester. It's like everything before it, it quietly whimpered out and went away. Technically, I don't know, it's still something that could conceivably happen. I don't know, it's just disappeared.
I don't have high hopes.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes either. So, the winter turned to spring, 2025. And on the morning of May 8th, it was bright blue skies and birds chirping, the sort of perfect spring day you wait all year for. And I was on my porch taking all that in when I got one call after another, and I got texts and texts and texts, and my phone was blowing up, and everyone said, you got to get down to Eureka Street right now. There's something happening. You got to get down there right now. So I got in my car. I threw my police scanner on, and drove as fast as I could down 290 past Hope Cemetery to Eureka Street. And when I arrived, it sounded like this. Minus the drums.
Would have been a lot here.
That's also the drummer's fault that happened.
If you're Bill, you can keep me code 5, but I'm going to start that way. Received, I got an update that the a mail call saying that there were 20 ICE officers there refusing to show a warrant, kept asking for the police chief, said they were causing a riot, so a couple different stories.
A couple different stories is what she said.
Good. Over Mass Reg for Bravo Echo Whiskey 92. The Black Chevy Trailblazer will be on Marriott Chandler. All set.
Turn me down. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Just outside now.
Appreciate it.
There's a bunch of people looks like a struggle.
Bunch of people, looks like a struggle, is the line there from the officer reporting back in, and you'll hear behind it some of the blood-curdling screams of Roseanne Ferrodale-Rivera's daughter that I will personally never forget. That was audio from my tape recorder as I was kind of running over to the scene. We're going to hear later in the program from some other people that were there. But I want to say, just on a personal note, that that was maybe it was the worst thing I've seen as a reporter. It was worse than June 2020. It was unbelievable, and the Worcester Police contributed so much to it. Seeing a grown man go up to a young girl holding a baby in her arms, and he's armed to the teeth, and he's helping these ICE agents do what they do, and he is trying to tell this woman that she is the one putting her baby in harm's way, is the sort of thing to witness that I am never not going to be angry about. So, I'm not sure you know it. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and I'm going to say, Chris, can you help me get me out of my hole that I'm going down into here?
No, why did we get all these people together and to talk about literally the most depressing thing that we could possibly talk about?
Why did we get all these people together and talk about literally the worst thing that's happened in a long ass time? Well, I think that it is, and the amount of people that have shown up, give yourselves a round of applause, please. I think it's a testament to this incident and this date being a real landmark for the city on a historical scale that should be recognized as such. And I didn't have a ton of time today to read the news, but was anybody else in the media? Did you see memorializing this day as significant? Did that happen? I don't know. Yeah. I don't even need to read it to know what that was. Yeah. Oh well. So it goes. So it goes in the city of Worcester. So I think that I wanted to establish the local political context for this, because the way that the WPD reacted, and then the way that the city reacted to how the WPD reacted, can't be separated from that December day that they stuffed the city council chambers and shouted at, like Thomas Duffy shouted at the mayor We were sort of, I think we were, and maybe still are, probably still are, a moment when the cops are feeling a little bit feral. And they showed up and saw it, like, sort of exactly the appropriate target to their mind, I suppose, for, you know, just turning stuff up to 11. And they didn't have to do that. And the city didn't have to sort of launder their doing that as some sort of, like, necessary response to a mob. So it's crazy. I don't know. It's crazy. So I think that's something that we shouldn't forget. And I think that the powers that be in the city would really like people to forget that time and how they reacted to it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's important to mention too that we were one of the first places in the country that had this kind of super public, super well attended, well recorded, well organized against ICE abduction. We weren't the first, but we were pretty early in that process of you know, making national news in that way. Unfortunately, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that we were not the last. There has been many more since, largely not handled well, but we have in some places seen the cracks start to form between local police and ICE, with local police having at least a basic sense of self-preservation of, I don't want to be in the middle of this in that way. Like, it's all risk, no reward. And unfortunately, I mean, I think the city's extremely tepid, policy announcements aside, we have no indication that anything about that. If Eureka Street happened again tomorrow in Worcester, which it absolutely could, we have no indication that the police department would handle it any differently, that there would be any restraints on them today that there weren't on May 8th.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect way to underscore one of the points that I really wanted to get to today, is that the community is really on their own on this one. I really don't think that support from City Hall is something that can be reasonably expected if this were to happen again. And we'll talk about it later, but it's not like this is the only time that ICE has been to Worcester. Right, there was a pretty well publicized one right outside of the courthouse.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was trying to remember exactly how long ago, but that's what I think that I'd like to as we get through our amazing, some are saying the best lineup of guests ever in this program. That's one of the things that I kind of want to keep centered is shut up. That's one of the things that I want to try to keep centered is using this as an opportunity to think about what we can do better, where we're currently deficient, and what it would take to, I don't even want to put it into the ether by saying it, but we saw in the months that followed Eureka Street, the goal of DHS and the goal of this new sort of formation of ICE is to be a domestic occupation force for right-wing media grievance purposes, and it had very little to do with immigration, but still, people are disappearing left and right as these otherwise unemployable thugs go from city to city like some sort of perverted freak circus on tour. And I think that the Iranian situation slowed that down a little bit, but it's it's in the guy's back pocket whenever he wants to pull it back out. So I think that thinking about our own resiliency in the sort of in the admission that we are on our own is appropriate in this moment.
Yeah, and I think, and just to add to that a little bit, I guess, we are on our own. That's the bad news. We are on our own, and I think, question mark, that's maybe also the good news. Who had everybody's back on Eureka Street? It was us, right? Like, it was people in this room and people who aren't in this room. And I think that there's a real power in that when Bill and I go, ranting and raving about mutual aid and stuff. That's what it is. It doesn't have to be anything more complicated than that. A sort of loosely organized group of people who care, who are willing to, put themselves at the level of risk that they've accepted and go out and try to help someone in their community that they probably didn't know beforehand. I think the last thing I have to say on that is I don't have a lot to contribute on this topic, to be honest with you. I wasn't there. But I had a weird place in the deportation pipeline for a long time because I used to bail people out of jail for years. Poor people. I bailed poor people out of jail. And this is a very public-facing, intentionally intense, you're supposed to see it, example of the deportation machine. But it's existed for a long time, and it's been getting progressively worse for a long time. Obama deported more people than anyone before Obama. Trump, in his first term, deported more people than that. Biden, in his term, largely with a tiny little break for COVID, deported more people than that. And so we need to and we must stop what we're seeing in front of us. But just not having street rips in every community every day doesn't solve the problem. Like, my full-throated demand is we need to fucking abolish ICE. They have to go away. ICE is less old than I am. It's gotta go away.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect cap on that point, I think. And I think this is a great time, Chris, to hear from some of our community members. We put a call out. We made a tip line. We put a call out to get some voicemails from people who wanted to reflect on May 8th, a year later, and what it means to them. And I think I want to start with somebody who's in the, somebody who might be here. I don't know.
On May 8th last year, I was in Rhode Island undergoing tests as part of a study I was participating in. Around the time I was asked to count backwards by 3, I started getting pinged on a Luce signal thread. I had recently been trained as a verifier. Pings kept coming fast and furious. When I was able to check messages, I learned that ICE had shown up on Eureka Street. I wanted, of course, to be there, but I couldn't teleport myself, and I remember how that felt. And I remember later wondering what it would have been like to be there. After watching all available video, including all the police body cam videos, watching the scene unfold, observing people I knew and didn't know, some responding with chants, others with direct verbal confrontation with ICE agents and police officers, some hanging at the outskirts of action serving as observers in line with Luce protocol, some assertively positioning themselves between ICE agents and their target, wondering where I would have been, what I would have done. Ashley got arrested, and later the police conspired to charge Etel with assaulting a police officer. Court appearances, rejected pleas, the trial, the appalling verdict, Etel's brave messaging over social media, all of that with Minneapolis in the background, the effective resistance, the murdered resistors. Through that screen, I wonder not only what I would have done had I been on Eureka Street on May 8th last year, but what about now? These days, when I'm buried under to-dos, when I barely show up in support of my immigrant neighbors, co-workers, friends, and tell myself I do what I can, when the brutality of the state is not one step removed, but on my street, an assault I cannot escape, do I have the courage, the skills, and the wisdom to intervene in state violence? And as violence intensifies, persists, are we positioned to care for ourselves for the long fight? Do we know not only who to link arms with, but where the safe houses are, the food and other supplies we will need? So many good folks in our city, including me, I admit, are focused on meeting immediate needs, and that does minimize the ongoing structural burdens of the state of racial capitalism. But how many of us are strategizing collectively to resource the resistance? What could that mean in the months we have? What? Those are some of my thoughts in response to the invitation to think about how Eureka Street went down and what it means for the city.
Give it up for Judy Diamondstone, everybody. Why the heck are we up here? You should be doing this. That was really special. I wanted to lead with that one because job well done. Chills. And I think rather than I have a few more, but we can pepper those into the show rather than do that. We should move to our first interview, which is occurring remotely, but I believe we have Ashley Spring here on the line. And we're just going to take a minute to see if we can hear Ashley. Ashley, can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Whoa, we can hear you too much. 1 second. We can hear you way too well. All right, try again.
Hello, check, 1, 2, 3.
I overcompensated. All right. Well, third time's the charm.
Hello.
Okay, I think that's better. Sorry, I hope none of you were drifting off to sleep because you're definitely awake now.
This is the room, by the way, Ashley.
Hi, everybody. So good to see everyone.
Yeah. So Ashley, I just wanted to maybe start by asking you sort of what came to mind. What was something that you really wanted to talk about on this topic when we reached out to you? What sort of sticks in your brain as the significance of this?
I think the most important thing about what happened on Eureka Street is that the community came together. Like, we said absolutely not, and a lot of us said absolutely not collectively. And I think that's so important for us to recognize that there are so many other people just like we are, experiencing this fear and distrust of what's going on with not just our national, officials, our local officials. And so I think, I really wanted to express my extreme gratitude for the community that took me under their wing after this incident. I didn't know most of you. And yeah, I really appreciate, what you've done, and you're not getting rid of me.
That's great. So Ashley was one of the first people on the scene, correct? Yeah, you were sort of there a few minutes before the cops, right? And
yeah.
And so from what I'm hearing there is that you didn't know anybody else that was working alongside you. I think that's kind of interesting. Maybe to just hear sort of what your headspace was like showing up to this event that was just strangers, right?
Right.
What it was like showing up for that, and how it hit you once you arrived.
I immediately knew already who was on my side. I think Karen was there, one of the first people there with me. And we kind of, as we did in training, talked a little bit amongst ourselves and made a plan. And that plan was almost sort of a little pact between she and I. And she stayed with me that whole time. And boy, did she try to stop me from getting arrested that day. I won't give her that. But I was just not listening apparently. But yeah, I did not know anybody there. I very quickly came to know them. And Bill, you too, I only knew you by your voice, but you're standing there filming me and I'm like, dude, my car is over there and I don't want it to get towed. Can you help me? So you immediately put your trust into these people just because you know that you're on the same side of history right now, so it was kind of strange, but it was really cool.
Yeah. That was, I haven't really thought about that since, but I was like, okay, now this is my little side quest is figure out what's going on with this car. While I watch this person I barely know get loaded into a paddy wagon. That's
yeah, right.
Yeah, that was So no, I can't remember. You got your car back though, right?
I do. I have my car.
Okay, good. All right. I don't think I ever asked you about that.
Seems like kind of an important thing to follow up on.
Well, you see, I was going around and I was just like a baby with my arms out, and I was like, Ashley's car, Ashley, until somebody else was like, oh, I got it, right? And then I was like,
and they actually
phew.
picked me up from jail in it too, so I got to ride home in my own vehicle.
Yeah. I was just given the simplest assignment of anybody there, and I was just pleading that somebody else take it away from me like a little baby. Yeah.
You did great, Bill.
Oh, thank you so much. It really means a lot to hear that. Actually, I think that I'd like to hear what motivated you to get involved with the observer training, right? Is what it's called. What motivated you to get involved with that work in the first place?
I was relatively new to Worcester at the time, and sort of new to Massachusetts in general. I'd only been there for a few years. And I was looking for something to get involved in the community. And also, I'm not able to sit still and watch stuff like this happen, as many people who are there tonight aren't. So when I heard about Luce, I was like, absolutely, hell yes. This is what we need to be doing right now. This is how we need to be organizing. I have a family that is immigrants. My stepdad is an immigrant. And this was scary stuff for me to watch. So I figured if I was going to be getting involved in anything, that this was as good as anything. And that's when I joined the trainings.
Right. And just picking up on that last thought, I think it might be interesting to hear, how did it first feel like to see sort of in the flesh the masked hardos doing street rips sort of right in front of you as you were filming?
Yeah, it was really the feelings were really all over the place because it's scary because it's actually them. I had gone to a bunch of calls before that and there was nothing there. So when I actually saw, these agents there, I was a little bit kind of shook. But then you sort of quickly realize that they're just a bunch of weenies. And just saying dorky stuff that is so silly. It wasn't intimidating. It certainly wasn't the level to what we're seeing, that we were seeing in Minneapolis.
Right.
It wasn't like that. So the fear wasn't, as extreme as it would be, I think, in those circumstances. But yeah, it was a little bit conflicted there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that I agree with that. They had like a sort of a death cult sort of vibe to them, like that they were like especially the balaclava style nose covering mask guy who had like obviously just got his tactical vest in the mail. And didn't know what fun. I wish I pulled this video clip because I have it, but watching that guy drop his pepper spray and then lean over and sort of like grab at the belt of his pants and like try to not have his entire ass exposed as he crouches down to pick back up his pepper spray and put it in the tactical center pocket of his vest. That was fun. That was fun for me to see.
Team OS Ice Agents.
Team OS Ice Agents. Yeah. And obviously, like they have, they got their funding to be the fifth largest standing army in the world, and now they all look like Call of Duty characters. They have like tactical helmets and all the gizmos and doodads and. But anyway, where was I going with that? What was I going to say? Actually, something I want to talk about is that.
Sorry.
Who's that gentleman? And we need to get him on the mic.
My cat is deaf, and so when she meows, she can't hear herself, so she does it very loud.
Mr. Cat, have you ever once in your life been fed? No? I'm hearing
never.
no? I'm hearing no?
Hear her? No, never.
Yeah. I'm hearing no, I haven't, and that you should feed me right now.
Are you now, or have you ever been associated with the Communist Party, Deaf Cat?
Exactly.
Say nothing. Good choice.
Yeah,
exactly.
Always say
Christmas
nothing.
speaks to nobody.
You don't have to answer any question anyone asks you. But, Ashley, please answer this next question. One of the things that was like I feel like it kind of got memory hold a little bit, but you were going to run for school committee.
Yeah.
And then sort of what happened with that?
So I decided to run after some things in District A made me really unhappy. I felt like the queer community was very shortchanged by some stuff that took place on school committee, and I figured I'd throw my hat in. It all went pretty well for a while. I stood at so many grocery stores with my kid who was like super ADHD. It was like wild. I was standing outside grocery stores for hours collecting signatures, and my kid would like dart back and forth, and it was kind of a disaster. But this is the life of a single mom.
Your kid's favorite thing to do isn't stand outside a grocery store?
No, absolutely not. Although there were some cool ass people who we ran into. They gave them all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I worked really hard to get on the ballot. I got the signatures that I needed, and everything was, moving along. And then Eureka Street happened, and suddenly I think, some people in the community realized that I was running at that point, or realized that, I might, at least make things a little bit rocky for my opponent. And so Steve Quist, our favorite person, wrote to or called the elections committee and told them that he didn't believe that I was qualified. Number one, because I was working for the school district part-time as a nurse. And number two, because I had voted at previously, or I was registered to vote previously at my marital home, which was on the market at the time, and I hadn't lived in quite a while, in Bolton. And so the Elections Commission called me and told me that they needed to, do a hearing, which they did, and they asked me all of these questions. And ultimately what they decided was that because even though I had lived in Worcester for the correct amount of time to run, which is 1 year, because I wasn't registered in Worcester to vote, during that period of time that I was not eligible to run. So I sort of got like backdoored out and they just pushed me out. By that time I had already been arrested and I had like 8 million other things going on. So I was like, I can't fight this nonsense right now. So I kind of just bowed out.
I don't know when I'm ever going to get to do this again. So everyone in the room, when I say the name Steve Quist, I want your best boos and hisses. Ready? Steve Quist. That's what I'm talking about. All right.
How dare you disrespect the great men and women of the Worcester Police Department like that by booing me? Booing me, Steve Quist. That's disrespectful to the cops.
Kevin, I'm not going to put you on the spot, even though I kind of am, but does anyone, I won't put Kevin on the spot, does anyone perhaps remember a state representative campaign where our old friend Phil Palmieri ran from what was definitely his domicile and not his mother's house on Shrewsbury Street that he didn't live in? Yeah? Okay, I'm hearing, yeah. So, you know, sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not a problem.
Mr. Giorgio too?
Yeah.
Mr. Giorgio too, that's right, Paul Giorgio. Yeah, we got all the old heads in here.
Sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not a problem. I brought that up specifically to say we saw sort of the internal mechanisms of City Hall work pretty hard to suss out the situation and to get sort of legal opinions. And you could tell that the election commission members were taking it quite seriously. Whereas, you know, the fact that the police charged you with felony for a little bit of water that may or may not have touched one of the officers didn't seem to get the same scrutiny as your voting address, right?
Right. Yeah.
What did it feel like when the prosecutor said that he in no way could argue that you had a dangerous weapon on your hand because he was like, it's water from a baby bottle?
I honestly feel like he wanted me to be grateful for that, like, but it was absolutely so ridiculous because, like, go ahead and try because it wouldn't have panned out very well. So I don't want to say like, oh, I was so relieved. Like, it was like, of course he did that. It only made sense for him to do that. I will not give him any more credit than he is due.
Yeah, no, I don't think you should. It was sort of refreshing to see someone tell the truth about the way that these police officers write these reports. The Worcester County, they'll run with just about anything. Now, Ashley, we're going to move on to some other guests that we have, but I want to ask you one last question. And we've been looking back into the past, and I sort of want to ask you about going forward. What are some of the lessons you learned, or a lesson that you are trying to apply to your life, political organizing, anything?
You know, I don't want to say nothing, but I want it to be very, very, very clear that if you tackle a child in front of me, I am going to respond, no matter what. So let's just leave it at that.
Let's just leave it at that. Ashley Spring, everyone. I hope you can hear the applause. And Ashley Spring's cat.
Actually, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
We didn't really have time to talk about we just talked about one of the myriad ways that this affected and impacted your life. It had a very profound impact on your life without getting into all the specifics, including that you for a time have been relocated in Florida.
Right.
Do you have any news that you want to share?
Get ready, bitches, because I'll be back June 1st.
She's coming back to Worcester.
Time to get to work.
All right, thank you so much for being with us, Ashley. I can keep this on if you want to hang around. I'll just mute you.
Please.
I'm going to turn the thing so you can see people and stick on as long as you want.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. I got to tell you that doing a video interview in a live podcast setting thing went about 1,000 times better than I thought it would. I was really stressing that, and that's great. But we're going to do our first, I think, in-person interview now. And I'm really excited. I am so excited to welcome two people to the stage, Etel and Mayra Morales. Let's go. Right up here. So now, maybe just feel free to click anything you see on the screen and do whatever you want. No, I'm just kidding. Here, pull that mic towards you a little bit, and we'll make sure that we have decent levels here.
How we doing?
Okay. Good. Try, keep talking.
How we doing?
How we doing?
I think that'll work just fine.
You good in the back?
Could be a little louder.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard for us to tell over here. It's hard for us to tell. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. So, I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? I want to start with you, and I want to start with same sort of general question that I put to Ashley first. Is what motivated you to show up that day? What was it that you were thinking on your way over?
I personally was thinking that I could not let that if ICE was there, then I wanted to document it, right? And I wanted to see it, and I wanted the world to see it, and so I was on a mission. And thank God I remember all the training.
Hey, listen, I'm not your boss. You're not gonna say nothing to me. So I'll put the same question to you. When you heard about it, what were you thinking, and what got you to get over there?
So I got a text from Jillian while I was at work, ironically working at a shelter where most migrant families are trying to get back on their feet. And I heard two things, or at least I remember just vividly being triggered by two things. One, there's a baby, there's an infant, and two women and ICE in the same sentence. Is this your district? And I thought for a moment, because my partner Kevin always asked me to pause before I act, that I couldn't go because obviously I was at work. My coworker turned to me maybe a few seconds after. I kept staring at the text and the other texts that were coming. Claire, I think, was the other one, kept calling. And I just had this instinct I just heard this voice in my head, you gotta go. And my coworker must have seen that look in my face, and she goes, I'll cover for you. I'll cover the desk. You seems like you need to go. I had no idea how and what scene was going to unfold, but I remember taking the same route that you took, driving to Eureka Street, and just having this thought in my head, there's women, there's children, there's ICE, there's women, there's children, there's ICE. Where have I had this feeling before? And I remember having physically had that feeling before in part of my family's experience as an undocumented refugee, but also just the scenes that a lot of people in my country who fled violence and immigrants and refugees that I met while in Greece had experienced. And so I didn't know then that's what that familiar feeling that prompted me to be there. But as I reflect back, it definitely, I can see how those personal experiences coupled with my community needs me, my constituents need me, why wouldn't I be there? And so that's how I landed on Eureka Street that day.
Right. The thing that I remember most about you, Marty, being there is you were on it the entire time. You were just like, show me the warrant. I have this vivid picture in my brain of you going up to a police officer with this, show me the warrant, show me the warrant. And you really gave him the business, and you made him look kind of silly because they were just going, it's federal, it's federal, I don't know, it's federal. But Which is, that's my opinion of how they sounded. That's how they sound in my head. Did you did you expect the police to be that much obviously on the side of ICE when they showed up, or was that a surprise to you?
I was extremely surprised.
Yeah.
That's how it came down, right? But when I think about it, when the police got there, that's one of the moments that, like, I think traumatizes me, because I looked up Eureka Street to Main Street, and it was like a herd of bulls, that was coming towards us, and I really thought we were all gonna be like trampled, by just, I can still see it,
For folks who, I think people probably have a pretty good sense, but for folks who don't know, when the call that Bill played came in, there was an all available cars call. So every police car in the city from everywhere went to Eureka Street.
You could see them to the right, you could see them to the left, and I just thought, oh, that's it, we're all done, right? And I was mad because serve and protect, right? You're supposed to protect me. What are you doing? You're supposed to be on the side of community. I remember saying that a lot.
Yeah, that is actually something that I remember you really driving the point home. Is like, what is your job even then if it's not to protect the community? And you were also among the people asking the very good question. Hey, I thought we didn't collaborate with ICE. Like, isn't this like a city ordinance or like something that you shouldn't be collaborating with ICE? Of course. After the fact, we were told that was in fact not a collaboration, but there was a separate unlawful assembly happening on the same street, and that they went there to control the unlawful assembly, and that had nothing at all to do with ICE, right? So I think I'd like to hear from both of you about that rhetoric, the insistence that WPD does not collaborate with ICE after, I don't know, what we saw in person. And either of you could go first, it doesn't matter.
So for me, the reason I was saying those things was because I kept visualizing Chief Saucier in City Council saying that they didn't do that, right? So, right, he did. He said it. I heard it. I saw it. And so...
First thing I did when I got home, found the clip.
Yeah. Right. Right? Yeah. So I was like, how, these are not your instructions. So what are you doing? And then, I forgot the other thing. Go.
You go.
Yeah, I remember vividly like asking for our city leaders while I was on city council to make proclamations, to make this statements of reassuring our community that WPD was not going to work with ICE. And I remember Chief Saucier, I remember having conversations with him. I mean, it felt, even though deep down, I think all of us who are in this room who have in some ways done community work before, who have witnessed the patterns of behavior from the Worcester Police Department, from our city leaders, there's a level of mistrust that is very rightly leveled. And so statements and those declarations always sort of felt empty to me. Yeah. But it felt important for us to push these folks to at least say them publicly. I remember thinking that at least what happened on Eureka Street, the discrepancy between what they said to us, what they reassured us privately, what the city manager reassured us publicly and privately, being in direct contradiction with the actions. There was zero alignment between what they told us they were doing, the policies, the training, and the way their bodies behaved in response to community members, mostly women, mostly grandmothers, who were protecting, like Ashley was saying, a child screaming. I mean, I have a 16-year-old kid, and to me, they're still babies, they're still children. And the discrepancy between what they told us, what they reassured us, even in the days after Eureka Street, stood in stark contrast with how they behaved, with the lack of acknowledgement of how they behaved, with the harm that they caused, and the harm that they kept perpetuating by crafting a narrative that put the community as the perpetrators of harm and put them as the protectors of peace. There was nothing peaceful about their behaviors. It was a disingenuous statement that still ring very true to my ears. What they say on the floor, what they said after Eureka Street, and how they refused to acknowledge the deep harm that they caused to the community that day.
Yeah, I don't think that we should ever once expect an apology for any of that. And the thing that strikes me so much about it is the way that they justified tackling the 16-year-old girl to the ground. As I mean, we were all there, and there's plenty of angles of body camera footage and footage from the community to see that this was a young girl running after a car. She was not about to get hit with it, and the way that they astroturfed that narrative, that they had to tackle this little girl to the ground because she was about to get hit by a car, while that's the car carrying her mother away to somewhere that she has no idea, and no one is even communicating with her in her language at all. It's like, it's shameless, really. It is really shameless the way that they that they flip that all around.
It's inhumane.
It very much is inhumane. And I guess I want to put the question back to either one of you wants to take this, but was that a surprise? Was that something you expected the police to do, or was that like a new I don't know, was that a new level for you in your observations of the police department?
I mean, I think honestly, it's not a new observation, right? Because when we look at the history of the Worcester Police Department and the way they have treated community and what they have done against them, we all know the abuses and, you know, all the different situations that have occurred. So it should not have been a surprise, right? And for a quick second, maybe you're like, what? What did they just do? They what? But honestly, when you sit back and you think about it, they were just playing from their playbook, right? They were just working from their playbook. And so the other thing that I forgot before, which I want to say, is that I was called in to have a meeting with Saucier and a couple of other community members so that we could figure out how we were going to work together and who we were. And he could not find the words to say that he was there to help community, right? So what do you want me to do? It's the federal government. I have to help them. I have to do what I need to do because I have other ways that I work with them. And I said, I want you to protect me. I want you to work for me and community.
Do you have
right?
other ways that they work with them? Did you just say that the Worcester Police has other ways that they work with ICE?
So, like, there are other departments in the federal government that they talk to, and so that was his concern, right? That he was going to damage that relationship.
I always find that I always find that really funny that that's supposed to like reassure me, like, you know,
Right.
like no, we can't mess with the ICE thing, or else they'll take away our NSA access. Like, you know, we'll lose the Panopticon.
We're gonna get terrible placement in the annual softball tournament.
Or that.
too.
They're gonna put us up against the NSA, and they suck to play.
We are not gonna make the next round robin, guys.
I mean, it's objectively laughable looking back on it. This idea that ICE and WPD is to collaborate with ICE. There's a million ways. Every time that WPD writes a traffic ticket, they are sort of de facto collaborating with ICE via this massive dragnet of surveillance and data-informed surveillance that has been created to sort of spit everyone's information into an AI and let the AI say, deport this one, right? And, I mean, we're never going to get a straight answer, but that's likely could have been the reason they were even there that day, right?
Can I just add something, Bill?
Yeah.
It's not new to our community how the relationship between Black and brown youth and the Worcester Police Department, it's generous to say, has been tense, because the word aggression comes to mind a lot to explain. I mean, people who have done activism and organizing longer than I have can tell you about the way that Worcester Police Department rolled up to the youth center to terrorize young Black and brown kids. The Black and brown community can tell you stories about how the youth get over-policed and over-surveilled. And so the muscle memory that runs through the Worcester Police Department actualized and manifested at Eureka Street, that is the way that they know how to react in moments where a youth of color, in this particular case, to watch a barely 100-pound young girl who looks like a 15-year-old child to be tackled to the ground by 2-3 police officers and then struggling to put their knee on her back and while she's limp on the floor, on the ground, while the group of mothers and grandmothers, obviously acting from our own instinct as protecting children, are trying to literally penetrate this wall that formed around swarming this little girl, this little child on the floor, while we're trying to penetrate that wall to be like, what are you doing? Why are you arresting a traumatized young child? I remember specifically, I don't know who it was, Karen, maybe Jillian, maybe Maide, but one of us said, we'll take care of her. We are mothers, we know how to calm a kid, a child. And the frustrating and the angry part of this episode is that to this day, not a single acknowledgement that they not only arrested her violently for trying to protect her mother, not only they crafted a lie around how they were trying to protect her from a non-moving car, not only did they refuse to believe that there were community helpers on hand that would have de-escalated, that would have calmed her down, just like we did with her sister and the infant, they made it sound like she was at fault. They dragged her barefoot along 2 blocks down for everybody to see, humiliating her, put her in a paddy wagon. And when we showed up to find a lawyer to get her out at the police station, not a single police officer, including the manager, including the mayor, including the chief of police, to this day have acknowledged the physical, mental, and spiritual harm that they have done to that child. Thank God for the family that she has. Thank God for the efforts of Jillian and Maide and others who have wrapped our arms around this family for this long, that family is now back together. The Worcester Police Department and the federal agents caused irreparable harm to that family. And it is frustrating that on a 12-month-long journey that we've been as a community, not a single one of them has said, I'm sorry. Instead, they turned the community to be the perpetrators for protecting a child, an infant, and 3 women.
Right. And a lot of time spent parsing the grainy stills of body camera footage to try to find something that looked like salt when you were reaching past them to point at the child on the ground, and you were saying, what are you doing, pointing at this child on the ground that they had just assaulted. And they, a lot of city resources were spent taking that to the clerk magistrate's office, right? And a lot of state resources were spent on adjudicating whether or not that was generally adjudicating whether you had committed assault. And there's a million ways to take this question, but having covered the trial closely, the last shred that's about justice at all, that system is completely gone for me. But I wanted to sort of rewind it and ask you to maybe remember how it felt sort of before you got charged, but the rhetoric from the police unions, Thomas Duffy in particular, was coming out, and there was like a full court press to make you the villain. How that felt.
Yeah, and that was purposeful, right? Because they made the story about one person or two people, in this case, Ashley and I, and I think that was purposefully, partly because it would have been a much damaging narrative to say it wasn't just Etel and Ashley they acted. Most of you, those of you who were here that day, you were acting, you were protecting, you were tussling with the idea of watching an injustice and trying to stop it. And that was a community effort. That wasn't a single individual leading as they made it out to be. But that is the propaganda and the lies that are so natural to bodies of law enforcement, whether they're federal, whether they're state, or whether they're local, that perpetuate the narrative that the community is chaos, the community is divisive, that our actions of protection and love are acts of chaos and division. They're projecting onto us what they themselves know that they manifest and play on a daily basis. To be honest, when I got the summons on a Wednesday morning, it's a weird experience to get a letter saying, you've done something criminal, you need to show up to court. And I kept trying to remember in my head, what is it about my actions that day that caused harm? And being the person that I am, obviously I internalized a lot of like, what if I really hurt somebody? Like, what, is it true that did I actually hurt another human being? Maybe, even if they're a police officer, I've never wanted to harm anyone. But like, those were the things that sort of crossed my mind. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Did I actually do something to hurt this family? Did I put my comrades in danger? And then to go through 9 months of that public maliciousness and vulnerability, it was hard and surreal at the same time. I think I was running on a lot of adrenaline with the election coming and thinking, more Worcester people will show up and, we can beat this thing. We can grab the narrative back. And I think that was the saddest part about that time, other than, the personal cost that, both Ashley and I, had to incur, and our families, and the stress and the legal fees and all that. It was just the fact that there was moments where it felt so defeating, that no matter what we did, we could not win. There was a lot of moments like that. I think I might have shared that a lot with my friends, some of you in the audience who, on the days prior to trial or after the verdict, you felt like we can never win this thing. And there was a moment that I think, and I think for me, at least this moment right now, it's about us reclaiming that we didn't lose. The families together, maybe Jillian and I can share a hopeful story at the end. We responded, like Chris was saying, maybe we weren't the first, but we set a spark across the nation. I think that we exposed during the trial things that they wanted us to keep hush-hush. The fact that a police officer took a direct order from an ICE agent. The fact that they told us that they never collaborate with ICE. The fact that we have mounds of narratives that aren't public to this day of police department reports against me and Ashley saying things that aren't true. The fact that we had 100 people show up to our court cases, and okay, yes, we love each other and we've done community, but that wasn't just about me and Ashley. That was showing up for this family. It was showing up for the values of our community. The fact that some of us who didn't know each other that well, have kept working with each other. There's a point where I felt after the trial, and especially maybe as I was coming a little bit out of that darkness of those weeks after it, that it feels like we didn't lose. Maybe we lost an election. Maybe, yes, we didn't get the verdict that we wanted, but Ashley is here still, and she's coming back to Worcester, and I'm still here, and you're still here, and we will keep exposing and talking about things, and the work that's going on behind the scenes with the Luce Hub and the volunteers, that's a big win. And yes, we got to fortify it and make it bigger. But I refuse to give in to their narrative that somehow everything that happened post Eureka Street was a failure of our community. It's quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite.
I think that was beautifully put, and I think that it really is something that I think about a lot and I come back to is like every time that you put the police and the sort of the political powers that be in the position where they have to be honest, right? Where they have to where you sort of get the raw hidden ego of like, yes, in this instance, we can look back and say that the police were like entirely self-interested and we're doing damage control and we're willing to sacrifice you and Ashley to reclaim like, I don't know, their own self-respect. Like that's soft, right? Like that's little baby behavior. And I should know because I am a little baby. But they don't get to take that back when they show that it's shown, right? So it's a chink in the armor every time, and you know we have to be able to see what that sort of blob of I don't know, law enforcement culture really is to be able to do something about it. So I think that was the real contribution. You know, I will never forget trying to just figure out, you know, how many misdemeanor assault trials have there been. And I was like, this will be an interesting data point for like my analysis of this. And I went to the supervisor of all of the state records, state courts in Massachusetts, got his email, bugged him, and he just eventually told me we don't keep those records. We don't keep records on what misdemeanor assault and battery on police charges even go to trial because they don't go to trial because it is not. It's not about justice. It's not a jury of your peers. It's like the system is designed so that they can use the courts to punish the people that they want to, right? So it's kind of the whole police state hiding in plain sight right there. The fact that you took it to trial is like a significant act of bravery that exposed that and allowed that reality to come to the surface, even though it was always rigged against you. And I don't know how they do random jury dismissals, but I'd like to see the device they use because I think that the clerk was just looking at her phone, honestly, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. I'm not going to make you comment on that. Chris, do you have any questions? I was getting carried away there. I was getting all worked up.
No, it's okay. I think you got the really good questions tonight. No, let me think. And while I do that, I guess I think to not have this feel as hopeless as it can sometimes. I think to the points that you all were just making, everyone remembers the first time that they saw the police show their whole ass, right? Like we all have that moment where we're like, oh, that's what they do. And I think every time that something like this happens, they have to show their power, and they have a lot of it, right? Like they do. You know, there is another journalist in the city who's being sued right now for $10 million for alleging, and he alleged it, we didn't. I don't want to get sued. That there was not going to be charges, and Thomas Duffy walked into a room with the chief, and there was some yelling that sounded like it was from Thomas Duffy.
Wait, the guy in the clip I played?
The guy in the clip you played.
That guy was yelling?
That guy was yelling. I know, it's hard to imagine. But if you can, you know, imagine the veins popping even more out of his forehead. And then what do you know? Etel was charged. And that shows the power they have. They had the power to, individuals had the power to get Etel charged and to secure a conviction in a so-called court of law. Was anyone here there for any of the trial? Yeah, all right, we got some people. Was that, was there anyone that wasn't their first trial? All right, so it was everybody, yeah. You've now seen what a trial in court looks like. I'll bet it's a little bit different than how you thought it was gonna be. And that's a really good, those kinds of experiences change you and they change the framework of your thinking, and like hold on to that because that's what gets you to the next place that you're going in your activism and your resolve around what we all have to do together. That was not at all a question.
Yeah.
It wasn't a question. It wasn't a question.
I was thinking the same thing.
I have. I guess I have just sort of one last question on reflecting on the past year, and I'll put it to both of you, but I want to keep it as broad as possible. And I want to just hear like what is like when you think about Eureka Street, what is the first sort of image or thing that comes to your mind? I don't know if that's an abstract question, but like what is it that sticks with you about it, right? Is there like something specific that you can't get out of your head? I'm sorry, that's kind of a fucking weird question.
No. I think for me it's just the sensation of Roseanne's arms around me, and you know, she clinging to my body in the same way that I would have clung to a stranger who offered to protect me, right? And when I say me, I don't just mean me, because I know there were many of us there. But for me personally, the sensation of just being able to be there and physically linked with another immigrant, you know, for me, like the intersection of my motherhood, my identity as a former undocumented refugee whose father got almost deported and detained, just seeing scenes of other immigrants getting detained in a foreign country, like all of those intersecting identities kind of converged in that physical sensation of, wow, here I am, you know, 20 years after coming to the United States, and I never thought that one of the most defining moments of my life, other than, you know, fleeing my country and just never forgetting that feeling of landing somewhere so foreign, is being in a foreign country that didn't feel like loved people like me and Roseanne, and being surrounded by men in guns and uniforms, with some with bewildered look in their faces, like we don't know what's going on. Some feeling, I use the word helpless now when I think about some of the confused expressions some of the police officers had, and then the ones that were really angry, just angry that these women are daring to be there. And so like that will never leave my head. And the second one is obviously the screams of Nayara, who I think we all have been re-traumatized by hearing that sound in court and seeing those scenes again and again and again. And then I think lastly, I would say the word that comes to mind when I think of Eureka Street is love, because it's love that was acted that day, and we refuse to back down from the principle that I think keeps us all together as a community still. The fact that we are still showing up for our neighbors at whatever capacity we can, the fact that we, I think, maybe don't have the perfect organizing in Worcester, but who does? But we still refuse to let go, especially in the face of so much cruelty and so much aggression that is being broadcast along, you know, across our TV screens every day.
Well put.
There are a lot of things actually that I remember about that day and I carry with me. One of them is, of course, the stampede, her screams, Etel's fierceness and fearlessness, right? The group of women who were standing by the pole when Roxana was hugging Etel, or Danny and Claire singing and praying And as soon as she stopped,
Yeah.
the police officer rushed them. Right?
So let's hang on that for a second. So they were singing and praying, and as soon as they stopped, you noticed the police officer rush. And rush onto who?
Onto the women who were protecting.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. So it's like they felt like they couldn't do that
Right.
while the singing was happening. That is
And yeah, right.
yeah, right, yeah. Wow.
And I remember Ashley going down when we first got there, because I was the first one on the scene.
Oh, wait, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
No.
That's why I said my training worked,
Oh,
right? Because they said it was one street and you're supposed to do canvassing afterwards. So I was like, I can't go, I have to do canvassing. And so when I was doing the canvassing, that's when I saw them. And so I called it in, and I knew there were 2 other people around because we were communicating. And so I saw Ashley running down the street, and then Karen, God bless her, little white old lady, and she was in their faces, right? She parked her car, I was like hiding my car up there, and she parked her car right in front of them, right? And I was like, go, way to use your privilege, you know?
Karen gives no fucks.
And today, any chance I get, I drive down Eureka Street. Because I'm not going to let them win. I'm not going to let them say that I'm afraid to be there, you know. And one of the things that I notice all the time is how far away the women got from where we were, right? Because they were taking care of another woman and her child. And how beautiful that is and how protective that is of our community. So, yeah.
Wow, that's really great. I did not know that. Yeah, give me that. I didn't. And that's my fault. I should have known that. You should.
Hey.
You gotta be a little louder about it. I think is the thing. But I think that's a good place. I think to sort of leave it for now and sort of shake it off. We got a little heavy there. Let's shake it off a little bit. And why don't everyone give another round of applause for Etel and for coming up on the stage. Our next guest, I am so excited about this, and this is just a spur of the moment thing happening right now, but we're going to have Danny Calais come up to the stage. Now, Danny, test yourself out in front of the mic there.
Hello.
I know that I had asked you a few weeks ago if you'd like to speak. And then I think I kind of forgot. I had a lot going on. But I'm so glad that you came and that we can do this. And I think that we need to address the elephant in the room right off the bat. You are responsible for the coolest single moment of the Eureka Street thing.
Not the most effective.
But absolutely the coolest.
Not at all on point with our training or literature.
Now, I really do. I think that I'll have it on hand somewhere. I really do think that I should play the clip. So, Chris, I'm really going to need you right now to stall for time just a little bit. And why don't you ask Danny another question that's not about that?
Danny, I have some
Goldfish.
colors goldfish. Would you like some colored goldfish?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I smoked a lot of weed before I came here, and I have cotton mouth.
Oh, I
So-
see. Goldfish as a snack, where's it landing for you on a scale of 1 to 12?
It's a solid 5.5.
5.5. Okay.
All right, well, I'll tell you what is not a 5.5, but it is a certified 11 out of 10 banger. Hold on. I gotta this. I'm blowing the speakers out. I really need everyone to hear this with some clarity. Sorry. This audio setup is kind of weird, and we got the drum set. I need. There we go.
And I do like a motion. I'm very animated.
You did so you did right. And this being an audio podcast,
it's a cupping, bouncing motion.
You say, why do the women with no guns have more balls than you guys? And it remains, I think, the best question anyone could ask.
I'm still waiting for someone to answer.
So, where did you learn to talk like that?
My husband can attest. That's what I sound like when I get really, really, really upset.
So, do you remember saying that, or is this something that you got retconned into remembering from the body camera footage?
Yeah, I don't remember anything I said. Honestly, the only thing I can remember saying is I remember driving away and thinking to myself, well, you just called every cop in Worcester a scumbag to his face 50,000 times, so good luck.
Yeah, you also might be the. Were you holding Crocs when you got tossed by an ICE agent? Is that you were in that?
I had the teenage girl's shoes, and I had, I think, Roseanne's tote bag. Okay. I was beset with things.
Yeah, you were sort of. It's the guy I was talking about earlier who has the brand new straight from the distributor tactical vest with his little front tactical pocket with the pepper spray in it. Yeah.
Oh, this, yeah. So this guy, I can tell you, I had the unfortunateness of being in very close proximity to him for a bit, and I will say I would put everything I have on him being like a card-carrying member of a white supremacist organization.
Definitely. I caught that vibe as well.
Not a doubt in my mind.
That guy is on some forums, for sure. Yeah. And that, he's just kind of exuding the energy of it, right? But also...
He had been waiting to have that amount of power over anyone for a while. He was not having a bad time.
Right. Yeah, he was loving it. Yeah, that was kind of the vibe that some of them were giving off, but him definitely, especially that guy's been on what's it called, Stormfront or whatever, a couple times for sure. But I want you, because you're a little toasty right now, right? I want you to put yourself in that guy's shoes, and think about how do you think he felt to be so thoroughly and effectively emasculated in that moment?
Honestly, does he think deeply about these things? Can he hear my voice? That's what I wonder. I don't know if he can. He probably didn't hear anything I said. Maybe if one of the men standing next to me. I did notice that when I would protest the treatment being received, crickets. But when Kevin stood up for me, they actually stopped pushing me straight by my breasts.
That's fucked up. I don't know. That is a very good little observation into law enforcement culture, and I think they need to actually develop that hearing test, because that would be
We're so shrill. How can you expect them?
Yeah.
They can't.
I mean,
it's at a frequency that, they can't.
I mean, I think there's a lot of assumptions in play with some of these people. Does that man understand object permanence? If I were to cover my face in a peekaboo position, would he think that I had gone away? These kinds of things, I think we need to investigate further.
I definitely, when my day brought up the fact that so many of the men in this gear, holding these guns, supposedly having all this training, and they all looked lost and confused. And the ones that didn't just looked pissed off. And I mean, I don't know, I'm not going to say like I'm on some unshakable thing, but I tend to not be like, I don't know, it was scary. It was pretty scary. If I'm being honest, it was super scary.
No, it was definitely super, super, super terrifying.
Like realizing the level of inherent, like, scared people make mistakes. These people look confused. They're clearly not actually trained to handle this. It was, realizing the level of, oh God, I'm really never getting out of a ticket in this town again. Incompetence was kind of terrifying.
It should be said that these are the kind of scared people that will start shooting out of fear, right? Which is, I feel bad almost even bringing it up, because that's the one thing from Eureka Street that I think about and I get a pit in my stomach, is how similar it was to other instances that ended in ICE murdering someone. And that is tough to think about, but it's also, the times call for bravery, and I thank you so much for coming up and talking about this, because this little moment has the rare combination of extreme bravery and being sick as fuck too at the same time.
Thank you. It's completely accidental.
So I think that, unless there's anything else you want to you desperately want to talk about, we were going to transition to sort of the second part of the program. So I will leave the floor to you if you have any sort of last words, anything you would like to talk about, and then we will take a quick little break.
I would say that one thing I want everyone to understand the power of is, if everyone showed up a little bit, no one would have to feel like they're showing up constantly all the time. I'm looking at you, Jillian. You should probably be getting rest literally right now. But yeah, we can all show up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great note to end on. Everyone, Danny Pillay. Thank you so much. All right, we have just one more segment, but I think that if it's all right with everybody, and I don't know how we're doing on time, maybe Travis can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But if we take just 5 minutes to sort of stretch, and I'd like to go to the bathroom.
It's not me who got up in the middle of the interview because I'm a 5-year-old boy who cannot time his bathroom breaks.
So we have one more segment left, and it's the best one yet, I promise. And just in a few minutes, I'll call everyone back. We are going to commence shortly. If everyone could please return to their seats. If everyone could return to their seats. I know that felt like the end, and that's my fault, and we're learning. We're learning about how to do this. But we do have one more segment, and I was not kidding when I said it was the best segment. So let's get everybody back to their seats. And Hopefully nobody didn't really hear me and then just left, but whatever. If they did, they can listen to this later because we've been recording the whole time. Everything we've said is on the record. Unfortunately for me, but that's okay. I'm used to it by now. All right, we have our very patiently waiting. We have our last speaker, Jillian from Luce. What's your last name? Fuck. Jillian Phillips from Luce. So, Jillian, I just want to clear the air, I did know your last name. I just forgot about it in that moment. And I'm embarrassed.
It's 9 o'clock at night, it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to bring you up here and sort of steer the conversation. We've been talking so much about, the past year and especially, what happened 1 year ago. But I sort of want to hear from you what's going on right now. Maybe talk about some of the work that you are involved in currently that maybe people can get involved with, or just what's going on.
Sure. So for those who don't know, I'm Jillian, and I run the Office of New Americans at Friendly House, and I'm also pretty heavily involved in our local Worcester Luce hub. I was in multiple places at the time that I got the call last year. Feel as you may, I was attending our final Leadership Worcester training at City Hall, learning about how our local government works. And so as I was getting the messages from my day and others, I was talking to Councillor King, I was talking to the mayor, I was talking to Eric Batista about what was happening and what I was leaving Leadership Worcester to go to. So they were very well aware of the posture, and I was just getting calls for more than half an hour. We have been told that when they show up, this happens quickly. They take the person and they're gone, as many of you have seen, that usually that is the way it goes. So we didn't understand why it was lingering. And it seems to be because there was a baby there that it sort of changed things. And definitely things have shifted since then. We have never seen another arrest that looks the same way. Things maybe seemed quiet for a little while after that incident. We selfishly thought that's because we scared them away a little bit, and maybe that's still true, that they hadn't seen that kind of resistance, at least in Massachusetts. And they were embarrassed by it, as others have said. They certainly didn't know what to do or how to respond, as evidenced by the fact that they sat on the side of that road for an hour and a half before anything really escalated, because they didn't know what to do with themselves. And that was really why I went, was because everyone's like, hey, we're doing our training and we don't know what's going on. Since that day, we have just continued showing up for our neighbors. We've continued getting calls and alerts from the hotline. We've continued growing our commitment in our community with our impacted neighbors. It has expanded regionally. We've supported families through our hub as far north as the Gardner-Leominster area, and as far to the west as Framingham, or to the east, sorry. We've also had families from Blackstone, Webster, so it has really, it's not just Worcester that's being impacted. We may not hear about the folks that are being disappeared from other places, but it is happening daily. It's happening in places where they think they can get away with it. A lot of them are at the courthouse right now. There was a steady stream of about 7 days in a row where they showed up at the Worcester District Courthouse. And we maybe saw them disappearing a neighbor, maybe we didn't. And then I got a call a few days later from a distraught family member that their person had been taken and they didn't know what to do. They couldn't find them. So my work is very heavily in that mutual aid half, where I get the calls from family, I get the calls from community, I get the calls from lawyers saying, can you provide some support specifically to the family left behind. And that sort of remained our goal even after May 8th. We were sending letters to Rozani while she was detained. We were showing up virtually to her immigration court hearings to see what was happening. We were adding commissary to her account so that she could purchase the things she needed, because while these folks are detained, they are not given anything except their initial outfit. They have to purchase any additional outfits. They have to purchase any kind of menstrual items that they might need. They have to purchase their own toothbrushes and toothpaste and soaps. So when we are able to fund that, they are able to buy what they need. Many of you have heard how awful these detention centers are. They're not fed well. So they are also then able through that commissary to purchase food so that they are not suffering. The food they're getting is ramen and crackers, but at least it is edible compared to what they're being served, which is, wholly disgusting. And we continue showing up for the families that are left behind. I was in contact with a therapist who was working with one of her daughters that was behind, and we were able to meet with her. Etel and I went just last weekend, and we're able to visit her at her house. She's
When you
back.
say her, who do you mean?
Rozani.
Rozani, you were able to visit her?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
You and Etel went to...
Me and Etel on the DL went over there, and
Etel, you want to come back up and can we focus on this story a little bit? This is, would you like to come? Yeah.
I told you to get up here.
I think that is, so, this was sort of, had either of you spoken to, as you say, Rozani? Okay, all right, I was saying it wrong earlier. Was that the first time that either had spoken to her, or?
We had sent letters, and
Yeah.
she had allowed me to stay for her asylum hearing. So she knew my face, and she knew who we were, but it was the first time after Eureka Street seeing her and speaking to her face to face. We had a phone call with her.
Yeah.
And we had been texting with her a little bit, but that was our first time, really sitting down together.
Okay, so set the scene for me here. How did you arrange this meeting? How did it go?
That's all this one.
Yeah, so Jillian had been keeping me abreast of, during the time that the hearings were going, hey, there's the hearing today. So it felt, first of all, I just want to say just deep gratitude for Jillian's unending ability to show up even when sometimes she's alone doing the work. And the fact that she provided so much support to Rozani clearly made a difference, and I'll explain why. Our meeting, but I had reached out to her attorney before the trial and in the days after Eureka to just ask him if she wanted to connect with us. And I didn't hear back. So one day I said, Jillian, I'm just going to try again. So I did. I said, we don't want anything. We just want to connect with her. We just want to make sure she's okay. He responded, connected me on WhatsApp, got on the phone with Jillian, got a translator on the phone, and we had a very quick conversation. And that led to her inviting us to her house. We'll keep the town where she lives in private. But we traveled there on a rainy Sunday or Saturday, and we sat in front of her house for I think 4 minutes, both of us just feeling very nervous. We were there before, so I was like, let's wait until it's 3:57. Let's wait. No, 3:58. I think for me it was just like, I can't believe this moment is here. Like, I can't believe a year after we're at her house.
Right. What about that? Like, what about that was so sort of nerve-wracking for you? I think that's interesting. Is it? If either of you have any thoughts on that, I just think that's an interesting moment.
I think for me, I just felt this wave of emotion, just be like, I can't believe we are about to be reunited. Also not knowing how she was going to react. She was very lovely over the phone. She said, I can't wait to see you. Thank you for reaching out. Clearly she wanted to see us. I don't know. It was just a mountain of emotions that I think I was kind of nervous about.
I mean, mine was much simpler, but as an autistic person who follows the rules, we told her we would be there at 4 o'clock. And so I did not want her to be like, why are these people walking up to my house when I'm thinking and prepared for 4 o'clock? So we drove around for a while because we got there early. And you know, I was comfortable going in at 3:55, but
I was like, no, let's wait one more minute.
I only needed a few minutes, and then we didn't know what door to go in, so it was 4 o'clock by the time we went in.
All right. So it's
So it was much simpler for me than it was.
So it's 4 o'clock on the dot. You know, you turned off the stopwatch, right? And then it is time to go in. Describe to me what that meeting was like.
I mean, we didn't know what in my conspiracy brain was like, what if we're walking into, like, this isn't really her house, this is some sort of, like, setup, and really she's angry at us, because we still carried that guilt of, you know, things went down a certain way that day because of who was on the street that day, how we showed up. You know, her daughter was arrested, maybe not because of our actions, but certainly the scene contributed to that. You know, there was a baby that, you know, in thinking about what's the thing that you think about all the time, for me, it was this baby that didn't make a peep on that street the entire 2 hours of that chaos. And coming from an early intervention and infant mental health background, what does life look like for that baby that went through that trauma? And so it was not really knowing what was going to be behind the door when we walked in, having some idea, but also we hadn't physically seen this person since that day. And so it was, you know, does she have those feelings? We also didn't end up having an interpreter that could go with us in person, so we knew there was going to be a language barrier between us. And that is always a challenge when you're showing up in community. You want to be able to effectively, you know, make sure people know. That was another reason why things were rough that first day, because we got an interpreter on the phone to talk to her. But we walked in and she just embraced us and we were crying. And we knew that one of her children was there because she had told us, but we didn't anticipate that then a second child came downstairs. So her whole family was back together. There's still two of her daughters in Brazil that she's working to get reunited with. But that to me was the most powerful part of it, was that they were back together. And that they knew that we had been trying to focus on that was really important for us as community, was that this family was able to get together again. Because even in the kind of background work I did, I found out that she wasn't being allowed any communication with her daughter, who was in DCF custody. And so I was collaborating to try to figure out how do we make that happen, because this child should not be having that communication with her parent, regardless of what they're doing. And so it was really important for her to know that our whole goal had been to be helpful. And I think we even asked that of her because we got another translator on the phone, to say, like, we want you to know, like, we showed up that day to care for you. That's why we were there. And she understood that. And I think that's part of why there were so many tears. And sharing backwards of, like, I love you, and really being appreciative of what we did that day, which was able to, for me anyway, and I think for Etel too, kind of take away that guilt that we had of maybe we did cause more harm, to know that, no, she appreciated it. She knew that us showing up was for the right reason, regardless of how things went that day.
Yeah, I remember just when she opened the door, just seeing this, like, in my mind, her face, like the panic and the fear, like all the things that I just remember, like the photograph of her memory in my head was that just a scared person. And then she opened the door and there she was, like, with a big smile. She looked healthy, she looked happy. I just remember, like, this light in her eyes, and that felt just so healing for me, just to see, just a wave of shedding that fear of, how is she doing? Like, the guilt of, did we make it worse for her? Is she healthy? Is she happy? And she was. And to see her surrounded by her children, a new grandchild, we just sat in her dining room table, and I don't even think we needed an interpreter. It felt like we could just, I don't know, I just had this experience of her watching these two strangers walking into her house, being reunited in a completely different circumstance. And to hear her say that she got the letters that Jillian coordinated, and that made a difference to her, to watch her be with her daughters and her grandchild, and her leaving the door open for us to meet her again, which I think we will. It just put everything into perspective. It not that we didn't know that what we did was not good, but like Jillian said, there was also a part of us that always felt like the fear of, did we make it worse for her? But just to watch that family just be together just made it all feel okay. I think some healing took place in those 30 minutes that we were there.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear you share that. I think that part from like a narrative perspective, part of the problem with this is affording the state the like absolute power to disappear people, right? And that when people are disappeared, like that's the end of it. But to like be able to get that closure, I guess, to see that this was like a obviously bad, but like sort of now in the past chapter in this woman's life, is it sort of, I don't know, it sort of diminishes the power or efficacy, I guess, of this whole strategy of deportation. It just all makes it all just so much the more senseless. I'm wondering if what am I wondering? I'm wondering if that is something that you've thought about at all since sort of what Roseanne's story says about the what they're trying to accomplish by deporting people.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that I would say over 95% of the people that they are doing this to are Black and brown. It is predominantly folks from Central South America, from Haiti, and from various areas in Africa and Middle Asia. Other majority of folks that we are seeing either disappeared or are showing up because there are many organizations doing this work and have been for a long time. One of them is Bijan that does court accompaniment. And so I spend most of my days when I'm not out in community also doing court watch and observing what's happening there to have an idea of what do our neighbors have coming to them. And they have created some really unfortunate systems that are rapidly allowing them to deport people even faster. Had Razani been taken, today, her outcome would have looked different because of the way that they have now set up the systems, where people get a court hearing in Massachusetts anyway within 2 weeks of their abduction. They're given only 2 weeks to locate a lawyer and file an application allowing them to stay. And if they arrive 2 weeks later, so 1 month total from when they have been taken, and they have not, in English, filed an application with zero support, or hired an attorney who might be able to fight for them, they are ordered removed from the country. And then usually within anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks from that, so less than 3 months from their abduction to their ultimate deportation from this country. And that is happening rapidly. We have had things, if you've seen in the news, there's something that's called the Somali rocket docket. This is for non-detained Somalis. They forced them all onto the same docket and had one judge hearing them from various places in New England, and they maybe had an asylum hearing date that was 2, 3, 4, 5 years out. They now have it scheduled within the next 2 months. That means that the lawyers now have to get all of their documentation together. They have to have physical exams. Many of these women went through female genital mutilation. They need medical exams to prove that. And that's almost impossible to get done in 2 months' time. So even though these people have very valid claims, the system is not going to allow them to represent themselves as well as they should in court because of the way that they are speeding this up. And so we feel pretty certain that had this happened now, Razani would not have had the same access.
And this is like really, I'm going to a dark place here, but I think it's important to kind of underline, just to clarify what I think you're saying. The women in that situation, their path to an asylum claim is the fact that they were that their genitals were mutilated, and they are having to get medical proof of their genitalia in order to be able to stay in this country. Is that?
Yeah, so, and I think that's like a little known fact, is like, this isn't just people that write down the awful things that happen to them and then a judge listens to that and decides it. These are people who have to go and get pictures taken of their trauma, usually by people they've never met before, because that's sort of a requirement of the assessment, is that it isn't a known person, because it needs to be an impartial person. So we are asking these people who have been through horrific things to then go through more horrific things, just to prove to some judge who is very likely to say, they have changed, there are certain categories that protect you, and they very recently tried to say that women, was not a category that in and of itself protects you, even though we know that women are harmed in these places, and these might be women who have young children that if they were forced back to Somalia, then their children would also be subject to having their genitals mutilated. And so it may not even be that they themselves, they've already been through the horror, but their children, they're trying to protect by being here. And so it's like generational trauma, and that's one of, again, the things that stood out to me about Eureka Street is like that baby is growing up with generational trauma. That teenager is growing up with generational trauma that she will then pass on to her babies, to their babies. This is the same thing that is happening across the country, that as folks are fighting their cases, this is being pushed through the generational trauma to their children. They are also deporting people to third countries of removal. So while I may not be able to send you back to Somalia, there's nothing saying that I can't send you to the Congo. And so they'll send them to the Congo. While the Congo is not a safe place, but that person may not be at the same risk. And so they're trying to send people from places like Guatemala to the Congo. Like, that is just how they're even able to do these things is beyond me, but they are, because every aspect of making these decisions is in line with them now. And so if they do have judges who are granting bonds, who are following the district court orders, they're going to fire them and keep the people who don't grant bond. Like right now, you can only get bond again if you have a habeas order. Well, that costs more money, that costs more time. You have judges who are going to deny it. I have a kid that got taken last September, a teenager. He had just turned 18 in the summer, and they filed this habeas back in the end of November. He's still waiting for a decision. And meanwhile, he's rotting away in this horrific place in Louisiana, and has at least twice that I know of attempted to take his own life because of how horrific it is in this facility. And they filed the habeas, which at least up here in Massachusetts gets heard very quickly. That's not the case down south. And so we have just thousands of people, and many of them are teenagers. We have lots of 18 to 21-year-olds that are showing up at these court hearings that were taken here as young children by their parents, and they're at risk of being sent back to these countries that they don't even know. Without any kind of supports. And so we have many families too who are choosing to self-deport because it's better to do that and be together than to be separated from their families. So it's not like just one thing that's happening. It's not just our neighbors being disappeared. It's so many other pieces that are happening. And that's, really the work that we're trying to do. So some of the mutual aid things that we've done is buying plane tickets for people to self-deport. And even outside the money, we have one family who was forced to kind of self-deport. Their partner went to a nice check-in and got taken. And so they have since decided to all just self-deport with her. But the father really wanted to maintain English access for his children in case they ever decide to come back. And so we have 2 volunteers in our hub who are doing English classes with them through WhatsApp. So even though these families are not even in the country anymore, they still have needs and we're still supporting them. So it's all of that kind of work that's still happening, but it's a lot. If you try to quantify like how many people we've helped or how many hours or how many dollars, like you almost can't, because there's just so many pieces to it. And just when we think we've got a system, that's all right. More balls than you guys is like staring me in the face over there.
The title of the YouTube video.
The YouTube video. But just when we think we get like a system, or we think that we have an idea of like, okay, this is how to prepare, they go and change things again, and then we can't prepare. And so it is encouraging to, I track every family that gets referred to us to see wherever they end up. Unfortunately, the majority of the families we've worked with, I think we have 4 who have achieved some sort of permanent status. Unfortunately, one of them who had been released was just re-detained this week. We didn't even know that was an option, but they're trying to send him to a third world country. I track where all of them go. Of about 100 families that we directly have helped, there's 4 that have achieved some sort of permanent status, and about 80 of them have been deported. So it's very minimal. We have some that have been bonded out. We have about 15 that have been bonded out. But even then, they still have to continue to fight their case. They have to run the risk that they could be taken back in again. And so it's just this ongoing, really tiring work, and our neighbors are feeling that. So as much as we're feeling that, as people who are just on the outside, observing, they're living with that every day. And I think that's really, for me, one of the hardest parts is I can only do as much as I can do, which I think is why I don't sleep, because I feel let me just give everything I can to this, so at least people know that there's people here that support them. But really, you can only fight a system so much. But it is impactful. I mean, Razani said in her asylum hearing that getting those letters from us felt like a hug from the community. So even though that was just one little thing, and the letters were all in English, so I'm sure someone read them to her. But knowing that there's one little thing that we can do that just means so much to them is what keeps us going, to keep doing this work. It may, we had a volunteer luncheon this week for our donation center and gave them the little starfish poem. That says, the kids throwing all the starfish in on the beach, but there's thousands of them, and the person says, why are you even trying to throw any in? And he says, I can't save them all, but I made a difference for that one. And so it feels like that is really the true work that we're able to do. And so I'm thankful for this event tonight, because the funds that are raised from this will go to Razani's family to rebuild their lives. We have some pins back there that we always encourage folks to, drop a donation if you take some, and those funds go to helping with commissary. They go to providing diapers for families. They go to providing meals for families, to helping them resettle in their new country. We've bought phones for people. We've sent them, wired them money so that when they get to their new country, they can buy clothes and things like that. So there's a lot of work to still be done, and it's really kind of just the beginning. Even though it's been a year of this, it still feels like it's just the beginning. And so I hope that one thing you take away from this tonight is to tell other people to keep showing up too. It's great to see a room full of people who are passionate, but we need the people who are not quite in it yet to realize how serious this is. And that, I think we're really at risk of this just becoming the normal thing that happens now. It's been a year of this, and it's getting worse, if anything.
Zone of interest every day.
Yeah. Every day.
The train whistle in the background. Yeah.
The saxophones are getting louder. It's just, it's just really, really horrific. And I think they're doing it a little more quietly now. So I think that I have people who will still say to me, oh, they're still here. Yes, they just took someone on Chandler Street yesterday or the day before. They're still doing this all the time. But people are, especially white people, are given the opportunity to just turn away from it. And we have to make sure that people don't keep doing that. And so appreciate opportunities like this to really share what we're seeing out there with our neighbors who can't speak up for themselves.
So for my friends who don't give a shit, should I try shame or encouragement?
I mean, it's fine if they don't give a shit, but if they'll just give us their money, so just to help people.
Open up your wallet.
Right? So, because I know that time is precious, right? People put their lives on the line that day to show up for the community, and we know not everyone can do that. I had the mom and her baby actually in the back of my car while that was unfolding, and I remember thinking, Like, I'm a single mom with little kids at home. Like, I can't get arrested because I got no one to take care of my kids. I still ran the risk because what are you going to do in the moment? But we know that people can't do that. And so, like, give us your money then. And if you don't have the money or you, you know, can't, find the rich person near you that you can talk into doing it. But even just getting like the word out there that this is still happening, because I think the more they try to silence it, the more that our neighbors can be disappeared. And also just fixing this rhetoric. Even that day, they're still trying to say, well, she was a violent criminal, she had a charge.
Unbelievable.
Like, how many people in this room can say you've never gotten a speeding ticket? And I'm amazed if that's you, because it's certainly not me. I had my license suspended when I was 18 because I got too many speeding tickets. Those are the people who are showing up are being detained because they show up to court on a speeding ticket, and then they're deported out of the country a month later. So it's not like these are hardened criminals. I think everyone can agree that if it's things like, you know, child pornography and murder, like, of course no one wants people doing those things in our community regardless, but that's not what is happening here. And so we really have to fix this narrative too, that it is, you know, well, who cares if they're taking them at the courthouse because those people shouldn't be in our country. Like, anybody can be charged. Tell Haji what I was charged with a, like, felony. Like, come on. So if they can do that and they can, you know, say that she injured a police officer, what else can they say about our neighbors? And the challenge is that they're then using those lies to deport them. And they don't care. And that's part of why, yes, abolish ICE, abolish the police. Defund it, though, and rebuild it correctly. Yes, we do need support services in our communities, but it shouldn't look like over-policing our communities. It should look like that day, social workers showed up to say what help is needed, what is going on, how can we address this. It shouldn't have looked like a bunch of men in uniform clearing the way for this car to disappear this person. That, how did they even know she was who she said she, you know, like all these pieces that just don't make sense. And I think, unfortunately, our society is very much like the police can do no wrong. Like, they are above the law. And I think we really need to address that, and the police need to earn the trust that they think they deserve. And certainly here in Worcester, I don't see that happening at ever, maybe.
Well, I don't know. I heard from somebody else in a clip that I played earlier. It says the police are the most under attack and aggrieved demographic that there is. So I don't know how we get to the conclusion that, you know, I don't know how you see it any different from that.
Delusional.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. Yeah, Chris, do you have any thoughts, any questions?
No, I don't. The question I was going to ask was, you know, how can people help? How can people give Luce a boost? I think you've kind of answered that. Money.
Do you want a big check from the tickets? Like, should I spend half the money on?
Can we make you a giant check for?
Yes.
Like
I love those
$100.
Yeah, we should. Travis, we'll get Travis on it.
Yeah.
We can. Yeah, we'll get that big check. Yeah.
Okay, we got the thumbs up. Big check coming.
Cool.
But just make sure they make the ones where it's like a whiteboard, because I anticipate many more big checks. So
Yeah, gotta be able to rewrite it. Hell yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
How can this feels like a weird thing to say in front of a bunch of live humans, but we will put a link in the episode description. But yeah, how could people find you on Google, Instagram, those kinds of things? Luce Worcester?
Yeah, we are Luce Woo, because why not? We aren't on socials, so a big part of this work is like protecting people's privacy. But if you just go to lucemass.org, but also like Facebook any of us, and we will pull you in to the work. We are tabling at a bunch of community events, so you can find us there. If you are like passionate about doing some of the bystander training with us and bearing witness to our neighbors being disappeared, we always need people, especially in the mornings, that are available to do that, if you are interested in doing mutual aid, we even do things like we have a meal train to a local shelter that was housing a lot of migrant families, and so we have a bunch of people that a couple times a week drop off meals to this local shelter. There's people in this room that have done that. And so there's like so many different ways to plug in. But yeah, you can find us pretty easily. Or there's flyers back there about what to do if a loved one is detained, and all of our contact details are on that as well.
That's that table back there?
That's the table back there with the very amazing Armenian tablecloth that a friend gave me.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Johnny, I think I'll leave it up to you to give us the last word. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today?
Yes. So the last word is that I think it's always important that we acknowledge the work that people are doing. I'm the worst at that, and I hate being acknowledged, so don't acknowledge me. But there are other people who do the work too that I think deserve to be recognized for that. And so the Office of New Americans, in partnership with Neighbor to Neighbor, has created a Good Neighbor Award that will be given out on May the 5th every year to acknowledge someone who has really shown up as a good neighbor. I remember as a kid, hearing about the Good Samaritan laws and learning that no matter what you do, if you show up with good intent, no one will come after you. And so that has long been my sort of motto of life, is like, I'll just show up with good intent and hope for the best. And so that's sort of the goal of this award that we will give out every 508 day to someone who has shown that in community. With some of the goal being that it is people who are showing up for the neighbors who really need it the most and are sort of the least likely to acknowledge that they need that help. And so should be no surprise that the first recipient is my darling, lovely friend here. What? So might be a little warm from being in my pocket, but there's no one who has shown up more consistently
Etel,
for the people.
Hold it up like the Stanley Cup.
It's beautiful.
Lovely, look at that, lovely. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's just, there are so many, and there are other people in this room who do it too, right? But there are people who do it in a way that, like, that they're just doing it. It's not because there's going to be a camera following them. It's not the 5 minutes to get, to say they did it. It's literally because that's just their, part of their nature. And so we just wanted to, again, acknowledge how much we appreciate Etel showing up that day. I know, watching Razani wrap her arms around her that day was because she knew that was a safe space for her. And that was, the last hug that she really got before she was disappeared that day. And I think that knowing that there were people there who were holding on to her with love helped her get through those few months until she could get back in community. And seeing her hug Etel that day last weekend, it was like it came full circle of her, really feeling held by this community. And so I could think of no one better to give the award to than our own.
Wow. Folks, I can't think of any better way to end it than that. I don't know. I think that you've all been a lovely audience, and this was a lot of fun. And I would love to do it again. I don't know how Chris feels, but
I'm lukewarm. No, I have something I want to do to end us that I think utilizes the space that we are in. First, Etel, I have to say, it's no Worcester Business Journal 40 under 40, but you gotta take what you can get.
You're talking to a bona fide power player here. Watch your mouth.
The single best thing that happened to me the day I turned 40 is I was like, I am not under 40. I will not get that award. I don't think I was in any danger. But, so we still have this room full of beautiful people, and Bill and I, as we often do, have forgotten to introduce the quote-unquote episode. So if you'll indulge me, we'll all do it together. So repeat after me. Today is Friday, May 8th. Today is Friday, May 8th.
All right,
You are listening to Outdoor Cats.
And you are listening to Outdoor Cats.
Fucking beautiful.
That was amazing. Thank you, everyone, so much. That has been the show. Give it up again for Trillion Phillips and Phil Young and Marvin Morales and Dennis
My name is Sue Mailman, and I was on Eureka Street last May, and I watched my friend Etel take the lead and speak back to, ICE people, Worcester police, who were clearly working with each other and not working on behalf of our residents. And I was so proud of her because she was the leader. I watched my friend Maide trying to give instructions to community to help, to be part of the solution, to see what we could do to show the horror of the situation. And my newer friend Ashley, who I got to know on the school committee a little bit, and she's a nurse, a trained nurse, and she was trying to protect a young mother. It was a crazy situation. How anybody ever got charged that day, is beyond me. And I just, I'm grateful that I was there to actually have witnessed what took place. So thanks, all you people.
The night is young. So can we get to it? Just get up and do it. Hey, we all like to party, yeah, until the dawn. Come around, oh yeah. Don't pass up a good thing.